Hey there, so welcome to my channel, Storytime with the Queen. I am so glad that you came back and joined me. Before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell as well so that you can make sure that you're always alerted whenever I post new videos. You know I like to jump right in, so that's what I'm gonna do. So a couple weeks ago, I got a text from one of my really good girlfriends. And she was out walking her dog, and she said when she was walking her dog, one of her neighbors, a European American, came out and spoke to the dog, but never acknowledged her presence. So she was like, girl, this man just came, spoke to the dog, didn't even look at me, didn't say hello. It was just the dog, and then he kept it moving. And so she said that he does those types of microaggressions all the time with them. So it got me to thinking about some microaggressions that I had experienced recently as well when it came to how European Americans will treat dogs versus how they treat Black humans, African Americans. So at work, one of my colleagues, her dog ended up having to have emergency surgery. Like all of a sudden she was just paralyzed. They didn't know what was wrong with her. And I'm a pet mom. I don't have a dog, but I do have a cat. And so I understand. So of course we were checking on her, checking on the dog, hoping everything is well. And then time goes on. So then a few weeks after that, my aunt, who is a human, ended up, she had a medical procedure done. And they accidentally clipped an artery, unbeknownst at the time to us, but she was bleeding profusely. She was at home and bleeding. And so I went by to check on her. And when I saw the amount of blood that was in the toilet, I was like, I'm taking you to the ER like right now. So I sent a text message to my team and I was like, hey, I have to rush my aunt to the emergency room. I gave them a rundown of what was going on, but I'm going to take my laptop and work from the ER because I know I'm going to be waiting for a while. So get there, work and everything. My aunt ended up being checked into ICU. That's when we found out they had clipped the artery during her procedure and she was bleeding. So they were like, if you had not brought her when you brought her, she would have died. So of course, they know everything at work. The next day at work, my colleague, who was white, who had the dog, who had the emergency surgery, she, reached out to me and checked on my aunt and I let her know what was going on. Things weren't looking too good at that time. So my manager, who does these types of microaggressions all the time, like I could literally write a book, not just on her, but just in corporate America in general, things that I've dealt with over my years in my career. And I'm just going to deal with this one. But the next morning, of course, we get on the call during our morning meeting. We meet on Zoom and, she's kind of hasty with me, but I always just ignore it. I guess Michelle Obama says they go low, you go high. I tend to do that most times. But anyway, so at the end of the conversation, she says to my coworker, oh, hey, how's your dog doing? And my coworker was like, she was caught off guard because she knew just yesterday what was going on with my aunt and that she was aware, but she asked about the dog. And my coworker was like, she's okay. And she was looking really funny. And so I'm sitting there and we're like, maybe she's going to ask about Candace's aunt. She did not. She just continued on. It's just so sad what's going on with your dog. I mean, my heart just goes out for her. And she just went on and on and on. And I didn't say a word to her because I know that typically in those situations, if we do say something, they tend to like to point the finger or you're angry or, oh my God, I didn't mean it like that. But we know they meant it like that. So let's be real. And I could tell, by her facial expressions, she was being petty for whatever reason. It's not much that she can say to me about work and different things like that because I do my job so well. So a lot of times people hate when you're my color, but you're the star. You're the one that shines, that goes above and beyond, that gets all these accolades. And she doesn't really like that. But yeah, she made it a point to ask about the dog. And to this day, she still has never asked me about my aunt. My aunt is well now, but she did have a touch and go, a scary moment, ended up in ICU. She nearly passed away from that. Thank God she did not. But yeah, she valued the life of a dog more and she wanted to make it apparent in that situation. And as I said, a lot of times, Black people, we deal with microaggressions a lot in corporate America, and we've learned to, brush things off. They always say, oh, you can go to HR. This is a culture where we want to be diverse. And they may be diverse and hire a lot of people of color, but how you get treated behind the scenes or little subliminal things that they do it on purpose. But I personally have learned to not internalize it, because it says more about that person's lack of character, that person's lack of integrity. And that, you want to treat me like I'm less than to you, but actually the way you're treating me shows that you think I'm better than you. So, and apparently I may be, if you got to go around the fence and do all of this, because it's not necessary. I think people should be treated equal regardless of what our race is and what our background is and what our classism level is in life. But of course, that's not the world that we live in. That's not the America that we live in. And that is definitely not the Texas that I live in. I can walk in a store and have a bag on my shoulder that costs $4,000. They'll still follow me around and treat me like I'm about to steal the $2 toy off the shelf. So it's just what it is. But if you've had situations like that, let me know in the comments. Hopefully you deal with it in a well manner and don't internalize it. It is not an indication of who you are as a person. Anyway, I'll see you next time on Storytime with the Queen, and check me out. Just wanted to hop on here real quick and say, you know what? For those who may be thinking, oh my God, you're so petty, you want someone to just ask about your aunt. That wasn't the issue for me. If she would have never asked about my aunt or even mentioned the dog, I would have had no offense to it. You didn't have to ask about my aunt, but it was when she took the time to ask about the condition of a dog that had an issue that was like a month prior. And for that is what made it offensive. Like, you were thinking about a dog issue from a month ago, but not the issue of that human life that was the night before. That was my problem. Had she not said anything about anything, I would have just kept it moving and would have, not felt a certain way. And I did feel a certain kind of way about it. Bitch was in petty.